How much of the Steelers' defensive problems are about Teryl Austin and the defensive scheme? We'll talk about that on the Locked On Steelers podcast, as well as give you our stars and skulls grades. I'm Chris Carter here with Alan Saunders. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. More on them later. As ever before, join the man himself, Alan Saunders. You know him, you love him from SteelersNow.com. Normally we have him on Tuesday, but I love to have him with Grades Day. And Grades Day this week is Monday because it was a Thursday night football game. But before we get into the grades, I want to talk about something that I touched on in my post-game reaction video and get my post-game analysis, and that a lot of people are mad at Teryl Austin over this week about the defensive game plan. I saw lots of accusations. All they did was run cover 3 shell. All they did was stick to the same coverages. They didn't switch anything up. They didn't try anything different. They didn't run enough man. They didn't run enough of the right man. They didn't double cover guys. And Alan, you and I talked about this. You wrote about this in your post-game column. I did a film study on this for the Post-Gazette. So we both kind of acknowledged this. It wasn't any of that. They didn't run a ton of cover 3 shell. In fact, they ran it very minimally. They ran a ton of man, got cooked while doing it. When they called different double coverages, they still got cooked in different ways. The problem was not the game plan as far as the designs and the schematics and how they were put together. That is, I think, the easy fruit that people try to reach you to feel better about something at the end of the game. The problem to me was that the players that they expected to win their matchups did not win their matchups, and when they tried to put them in other positions, they tried their second and third plans to help them win their matchups. They still lost those.
Yeah. Why is it Teryl Austin's fault that Jalen Ramsey got cooked by Jamar Chase one-on-one? Why is it Teryl Austin's fault that Joey Porter Jr. couldn't man cover without taking penalties? Why is it Teryl Austin's fault that Andre Yoshivas torched Darius Slay? Why is it Teryl Austin's fault that Slay got bullied off the ball in the red zone by T. Higgins? Did the game plan work? No, clearly. But when nobody can do anything, there is no game plan that works, and nobody covered anybody for the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night. Nobody. The linebackers didn't cover. Deshaun Elliott might have been the only guy who had any coverage responsibility whatsoever in that game that you could say even mostly did his job. Everybody else failed at everything they attempted to do. And it doesn't. They tried coverages I've never even seen them run before, Chris. They're just literally trying to find anything that would work. And none of it did.
And to me, that's a sign of a different kind of a problem. Maybe even a bigger problem is that the
whole thing is it's all the coach's fault, because that means that these players are actually good enough to do this, and it's these big bad evil coaches that failed them, when the reality is probably much darker, that the players the Steelers invested a lot of money and resources in are not good enough to get the job that they wanted them to get done, and now what?
And see, that's where I think the problem could lie. Now, I also want to point this out, is that there's oftentimes the seasons go up and down. There are plays that are good and bad. There's a good chance the Steelers get these guys back in Acrisure and they have a better day and they are able to limit their production and they come out with a win. Normally they do split. Normally they do split with the Bengals. That's just how it goes. And that when they do that, that won't erase this performance. It will, but it will. I think where this defense has to grow is it has to learn the ways that it can win. One, it has to stop the run. That's something that we'll get into as well, because that's another part of this. I truly think part of the Steelers' general plan when they face a team with a superstar wide receiver like Jamar Chase, like a Justin Jefferson, is they say, hey, you know what? That guy's going to get his. We're not going to scheme to take him away entirely, which is why he got 23 targets. We're going to scheme to try to limit everyone else. We're going to try to take away T. Higgins. We're going to try to take away the run. And I think that was the biggest failure, was that T. Higgins still ate in this game. The run game was a factor in this game. Because here's the thing. You take away T. Higgins, he doesn't have the day that he has, and the run game doesn't have the game that he has. the Steelers kicked their butts. And like those are the things I think that were the biggest thing. I know Jamar Chase is what everyone wants to focus on because he got the numbers. But to me, like I think back to how they used to cover Devontae Adams when he was with the Raiders or the Rams. When I think back at how they played the Vikings game, though Addison finished with 100 yards, 80 of one of those yards because of a busted coverage in the fourth quarter when that wasn't about game plan. It was just, hey, you get the boneheaded mistake by this guy over here. But the game plan was clearly to say, hey, you know what? Justin Jefferson, get yours, buddy. You're going to do your thing. We're just going to make sure that you don't score all the touchdowns. Everything else. And they took away Jordan Mason, TJ Hawkinson, and until that busted play, Jordan Addison. That, I think, is a big crux of what they try to do on defense. And in this game, the problem was they couldn't do the other things, and that's where they have to be able to be better moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game plan with Chase was obvious. 16 catches, none of them longer than 20 yards. Like, the whole plan with Chase was like, hey, if it's Chase on slants, like, okay, come down the field and beat us 5 to 7 yards at a time. Fine. It's all the other stuff on top of that, right? And I think also, though, like they did not have an answer for anything. Like there was just nowhere to go with when things started to happen. They tried to blitz, then they give up big plays against the run. They play zone, then Chase eats them up with the slant. They play man, they start to get penalties, then they get beat deep, right? They double, then they get beat deep. They give up touchdowns. Like every answer the Steelers tried, the Bengals had a better counter for. Yeah. And look, there's not a lot of teams that have that kind of receiving talent. It's just a bad day at the office. Like you said, I think it's reasonable to expect that a much older team will not have its best fastball on a Thursday night. I get that. But man, like you only get so many opportunities to play these games. Like this secondary was built to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And not only did they beat the Cincinnati Bengals, they got boots to, you know what, worse than any Steelers secondary I've seen in since like Brady was picking apart like those secondaries that had no talent. Like
right.
Antoine Blake and, you know, guys like that were starting corners, Cody Sensabaugh. And like,
yeah,
that's not what this is. This was a group of guys handpicked to come do this job and still getting their butts whipped. I think in that regard has to be one of the most disappointing Steelers secondary performances in a really long time.
And so that poses the big question that I asked at the end of my film piece at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. By the way, go to post-gazette.com to read that over the weekend, a big film piece breaking down a lot of these things that we're talking about here. But the big question I asked is, do you restructure how you're designed as a defense based off of this failure? Because like you said, you were designed to do this very thing, and then you didn't do that very thing. Or do you say, hey, you know what? Maybe we make a couple switches here and there, but structurally, that's not the problem. The problem is we need these guys to lock in and be better in these moments. Do you trust that Joey Porter Jr. is going to have have better games moving forward? Do you trust that Jalen Ramsey isn't going to lose those one-on-ones, or even also some of the mental errors? Because like on that last drive, there was, you know, the first pass to Jamar Chase. I mean, it's clear they got a safety covering inside leverage, a corner covering outside leverage. They did it right on the other side, but Joey Porter, for whatever reason, thought he was inside leverage and gave up the sideline, allowing the first play. And then the second play, a motion makes either Jalen Ramsey or Deshaun Elliott, one of the two, not understand that they were supposed to take away Jamar Chase on a crossing route, and he's wide open for that. And those two plays set up eventually the Higgins deep ball, which structurally had a less problem with it. Just, hey, you know what? Great throw, great catch into tight coverage.
Ramsey was in position there. He just didn't make a play on the ball like that.
Yeah.
There was a couple of those too. That's where it's like failures on multiple levels, right? Like it's like schematically, I mean, they did a lot of things. None of it worked. Communication, I don't think it was as bad as it's been at points this year, but it certainly there were certainly mistakes. And then just physical one-on-one execution. You get into position to make plays, and they weren't routinely able to do it. Can you go into another game with it? And look, there aren't that many of these games, but you do have, and I think the Packers have probably not as good 1-2, but 1-2-3 very challenging receivers. The Lions are every bit as good 1-2 with Williams and Amon-Ra, and you're going to get the Bengals again. So you're going to get some more of these matchups. Can you go into them with the same game plan and saying our guys will be better next time? No, I don't think you can. That's insanity. What can you do? I mean, that you're kind of limited. Like there's not a whole lot of options. I think one of the things that it really looked to me when I went back and looked at the tape was it's like they had mismatched pieces. Like Joey Porter got 2 DPIs, one of which I really did not like the call.
There was one really bad one.
Yeah, one was I really didn't like the call. But honestly, it felt like other than that, held up pretty well in man coverage in this game. I feel like he generally did his job. And by the way, against those 2 guys, if you don't give up much and you take 2 penalties, like I kind of live with that. Like that's not the worst thing in the world. But the other 2 guys couldn't do their thing in man. Yeah. And then you start to play zone, and now you've got mistakes from Porter in zone. Yeah. And so like I feel like maybe some split coverages could work where you have one side of the field doing one thing, the other side of the field doing the other thing. That was the one thing I don't feel like they really tried a lot of in this game. Not that you can just go to that if you haven't repped it. Not that you can just go to that on in the third quarter and be like, here's what we're going to go for. But like, I don't think there's tactically a lot of bullets left in the gun. Like there's not that much left they can throw at Cincinnati that they didn't on Thursday.
And I think that's where the Steelers might unfortunately lie right now, is that this is where, and again, this is why you and we didn't pick this team as a Super Bowl contender. I thought this team had a chance to get to at best 11 wins this season, get their way into the playoffs, maybe get a more favorable first round matchup and get a win there. But we've maintained this team is going to have its flaws. And I thought that the flaws would come in a few different places, but this is clearly one of them right now. And I think the best way for them to counteract this is to be able to win those other things we talked about. For one, stuffing the run, putting them in more of those 3rd and longs. Yes, they gave up some 3rd and longs early, but you need to keep making them, force them to win in 3rd and longs, and eventually you get the coverage, even if it's just initially. Because like part of like the Yosifas 34-yard bomb that he cooked Darius Slay on, it wasn't like the Ramsey play where Ramsey wasn't just in really good coverage on Higgins at the end of the game. And Higgins, it was just a perfect ball by Flacco, perfect reaction by Higgins. He just beat Ramsey at that moment. Slay lost that route immediately. If he in one step, it was gone. If he holds on to his inside leverage for 2 seconds, Watt gets home, sack, stop the drive. Steelers get the ball back. No touchdown for the Bengals that drive. It's those types of things that this team needs, and I want to talk more about that in our Stars and Skulls segment, because we'll go over our Stars and Skulls and who did the worst and the best as far as how things played out. That's next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, what I'm going to do this show is brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's SAD, software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the most unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos of that your software created. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything to touch. Right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's RIPPLING.com/LOCKEDONNFL. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. We're also brought to you by Prize Picks. With Prize Picks every day, you make decisions, but on Prize Picks, you can actually get paid for those decisions. Don't miss the excitement of the football season where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add excitement to your football Sundays. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown, and you can win the game and win money. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can start take your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups only on Prize Picks. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders. We're keeping it going here. It's time to get to our stars and skulls grades. Again, normally, it always feels weird after a Thursday night game because it's happening earlier in the week, but it's also more days after the game because the game was on Thursday and now it's Monday, but normally did it on Tuesday. But we still want to hit you with these grades. Now, of course, if you follow along the Steelers grades, we do 1 to 3 stars, good, great to elite performances, 1 to 3 skulls for bad play without redemption, the bad game as a whole, and an all-time terrible game. Then, of course, the dreaded bus ticket grade, where it basically get up out of here, bro. You can't be here no more. Which last week we gave our first bus ticket to the Steelers Acrisure Stadium field, which it literally got resodded immediately after the game. So, anyways, as we always do when the Steelers lose, we cover the skulls first. And so let's go to our skulls here. We got 3 one-skull performances. I got DK Metcalf, Alex Highsmith, and Peyton Wilson. I also wrote about these in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, so you can go to those if you'd like this there. DK Metcalf primarily because that interception, and he did put on him. If he holds on to that football, Steelers probably win that football game. Because not only do they at least get 3 points on that drive, but they don't give the Bengals points the other way around. And that play was such a momentum shifter for a Bengals defense that did not believe in itself, a Bengals team that I thought was on the verge of kind of getting knocked out. He needed to hold on to that ball, and that one play was just really rough on him.
Yeah, I don't love that call either. But I
go ahead. Give me your theory on that real quick.
They didn't make a call on the field, and then they got together and decided it was an interception. And once they did that, there obviously wasn't enough to overturn. But nobody seemed to think it was an interception at first. I don't know. It just seemed weird. Make the call right away.
When you get a chance, I want you to look back at this play and let me know. I saw an angle where you see the two of them fighting for the ball. DK's hand is on the football as his back hits out of bounds. And as I understand that, as they called with the Vikings play where Jalen Ramsey's touchdown was nullified, if someone is touching the football and they are out of bounds, the play is killed, and there is no reception.
Not if the defensive player has possession. If the defensive player has possession, then he could be touching it. It would still be live. But if it's a loose ball, yeah, I think I was okay with the possession there. I just don't think his knee came down in bounds. There's no angle that shows from the sideline view where you would be able to see whether it's in. The only angle you see where his knee hits the ground is straight from behind. You can't tell whether it's in or out. There's no depth perception there. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see an angle where I was convinced.
But again, I'm not going to ding him too hard.
Still, DK. I mean, look at DK Metcalf and look at that corner. Come on, bro. He knows. He said it.
He knows. And he said, right. He was. I
don't know if you saw the quote, but hold on. I need to hold on to the effing ball. Was the yeah. Yep.
No, I saw the quote, and I get it. But again, one skull, not too terrible here. I then dinged these 2 linebackers, Alex Highsmith and Peyton Wilson. Highsmith only getting 1 pressure on the night, and then also missed 2 tackles. Peyton Wilson missed a tackle or 2, and then also didn't really do much in coverage. But I didn't ding them higher because I didn't think they were the biggest problems with the run defense, and we'll get into those later. What did you think of their performances?
Yeah, I think Peyton Wilson had a coverage bust also. Where Joey got up after making the tackle and kind of was like, what the heck? So yeah, perfectly fair. Neither guy were very impactful. I didn't think they were noticeably bad, but didn't do much positively.
I hear you there. Let's move to our 2 skull grades here. 3 guys on this list. I got Keanu Benton, Joey Porter Jr., and Deshaun Elliott. Now, Alan, I want to point out here, Keanu Benton was well on track. When he got that sack in the first, I was like, this guy's figuring it out. This guy's getting it. But then as the Bengals kept running, and then when I look back and I watched it so many times, it went right back to Benton's gap. And when I looked at the breakdown as far as which gaps, I was like, man, this is rough. He's getting pushed off the ball. He's not fighting through. Now, sometimes I thought they got away with kind of holding him at the point of attack the same way.
Definitely got hold on the one big run.
Oh my God.
It just got tackled.
Right. And just that's hard to penalize him for. But I still feel like Keanu Benton has to be stronger in those moments there. And the past 2 games, he had been. I thought he played better against the Vikings. I thought he played much better against the Browns. And this is an offensive line I thought he'd be able to take advantage of. And he did get held in that point. But I thought he should have still found a way to work his way through that to stop the run.
I feel like this is a little harsh on Benton, especially considering he had the sack in a day where nobody did anything in the pass rush realm. I probably would be little easier on him. I thought Elliott was actually good. I'm interested to see what you saw there for the two skulls.
I just saw he missed some. He also missed some tackles in run defense, and I thought that was a big thing. But I also looked at some of the miscommunication breakdowns, his position on some of the zones. He didn't hug his zone the right way a lot of times, and then it's tough for me to discern who this was. But on that Jamar Chase crosser, it looked like the Steelers were in one man, and Ramsey backed off, saying, "Okay, they're in motion. I cannot try to trail Jamar Chase." When he's got two right receivers inside of him, that's going to be an easy break off. We're passing him off, and that's where the guy who was the cover one deep man switches to man and is supposed to jump down on Jamar Chase on the opposite side of the field. That way, cutting off his crosser and say, hey, you can hit him, but he's only going to get 5 yards. And so you see Ramsey back off. He plays deep coverage, but the problem was Elliott did not come out of his deep coverage. So to me, that was a really big coverage bust at the wrong point in time. So when I tagged that with some of his missed tackles, that was my big thing. And there are a couple zones I didn't think he hugged the right way. I didn't think it was his worst game, and he was the biggest problem in this game. But I did think that those were some costly losses.
Yeah. Okay. If you're going to give him that busted coverage, then I guess that's fair. I'll say a couple that we didn't name that I think I don't know. I guess we'll say I don't think you would have given Chuck Clark 3 skulls, but he had missed tackle on the T. Higgins touchdown. Really bad angle coming up. Probably would have thrown one there. And yeah, there's probably a couple more I can think of, but let's get to the 3 skulls.
Let's get to the 3 skulls. I'll say this: Chuck Clark is not a 3 skull. The only reason I marked him as neutral because of the touchdown breakup, and he saved the touchdown. Granted, they gave it up like the next play, but he also made some good tackles. So I wasn't too harsh on him per se, but I'll give you I think you can pretty much figure out based off of who else I have it named who my three skulls are.
All 3 corners.
Well, Joey Porter's a 2 skull. The only reason I didn't give Joey Porter 3 was because he did break up 2 third down passes, and like you said, I wasn't going to think the one of the penalties I thought was legit. Another one I didn't think was legit.
Yeah, I think Porter was clearly the corner that had the best day. So okay, yeah. All right. So we got the 2 corners, and we got another 3 skull.
Also on defense, I'll give you that hint.
Patrick Queen. It was, oh my goodness.
Ba-bang!
As good as he was against the Browns,
it was the complete opposite.
Yeah. Really let Flacco manipulate him with his eyes. To an extent that I'm not sure I've ever even seen. Was just kind of running around out there. If you want to add on some blame for the communications problems, I wouldn't hate that idea. Yeah, not good. And then Ramsey and Slay just, I mean, I think it was bad to the point that like you can't give those guys those assignments anymore. You cannot go into a game with quality receivers and think that those guys are going to man them up, because it just did not work at all.
It didn't. I think that's a problem. And I'm glad you were able to figure out Patrick Queen. And listen, this is a person who I think Patrick Queen gets blamed for a lot of things that aren't his fault a lot of times when people get mad at the Steelers defense. But this was a game that very much had a lot of his problems. Those hug zones we're talking about, there were a lot of times, man, it's like you point out, reading the quarterback's eyes, that's something that you can do. But as the green dot, as the guy, one of the guys is supposed to understand that the build of the defense, what you're doing. Some of those times, it's like, buddy, he's trying to look you off the chase slant. He's trying to the number one receiver's right over here, and you guys are in zone in this play. You have to pinch him. If they hit, name the type Noah Fant over here, fine. But I am not letting you hit this guy over here. And to me, that was part of where Patrick Queen, plus he missed 3 tackles as well in the game.
2 more guys I think maybe I would have put in skull territory. Jack Sawyer got on a play action pass in coverage. Gave up a big play, and I didn't think did much other than that. And I didn't think Derek Harmon was very good in this game. I thought this was really the first time he looked like a rookie.
So I gave, as normal, I don't put my neutrals here because I can't do a cool graphic for neutral. But my neutrals in this game, and again, you can read these in the Post Gazette. I put Derek Harmon as one of my neutrals, particularly because I didn't feel like he was the biggest problem in the run defense. He wasn't the biggest difference maker either. But I left him alone there. I also put Watt and Herbig as neutrals. Watt did have half a sack, but I thought the Bengals very much did what the Steelers did to Myles Garrett last week. They negated him. And then Nick Herbig had 3 pressures but just also I felt like wasn't used enough in this game, which is
he had a
maybe that's
couple
something you think.
rough looking run reps early in the
There were.
game that I wonder if were the cause of him not playing very much.
Yeah, and so I wonder about that. But those are my neutral grades here for Harmon, Watt, Herbig, and Clark. But again, there are 3 skulls: Queen, Ramsey, and Slay. Both of I think that's first times for all these guys. It's my worst grade on each of them. I've given Slay a 2 skull before, I believe, and I think Queen a 2 skull maybe, but not Ramsey. And I think again that goes back to the crux of the problem here. And listen, these are 3 important guys that they've paid good free agent money to be difference makers in this defense. And when those things happen, when you get 3 this bad performances from 3 key guys like that, that's the kind of stuff that can lead to giving up 33 points in a game.
Yeah. And it's honestly like the 1 through 3 really limits. Like if you had 4 skulls,
yeah. If I had another level, I could probably up it a little bit more too.
Yeah.
But no bus tickets. I know some people really want bus tickets, but
no, not yet.
Not yet. But I want to talk about a potential solution for the Slay situation, because I do think the Steelers do have some options. Maybe not great options, but something there. We'll talk about that next here, as well as give you our star grades and who performed well. That's next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, remind you, the show is also brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players, they sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. We're also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is well underway, and FanDuel is making sure that you can be ready for all the action with this can't-miss offer. Right now, if you're a new customer to FanDuel, you can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet and get your chance at $300 in bonus bets only on FanDuel. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Let's get to our star grades here. As always, we save those for last when the Steelers lose. Let's get to our 1-star grades. Lots of 1-star grades. I think there were guys that did their parts here and there. Running through the list real quick: Zach Frazier, Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Cam Hayward, Roman Wilson, Brandon Eccles, Darnell Washington, Chris Boswell, Jonnu Smith, Spencer Anderson, and Corliss Waitman. I'll start with the 3 offensive linemen. Zach Frazier would have gotten a 2-star here if it wasn't for that holding call that wiped out a Jaylen Warren touchdown. And however you feel about it, it was a costly holding call because it turned 7 points into 3 points. So I dinged him for that. There, but not too harshly, because he had a really good game otherwise. Broderick Jones and Seumalo each gave up 3 pressures in this game, but neither gave up sacks. I didn't feel like they were the biggest problems. Jones also got called for a hold. Granted, got erased by that Pat Freiermuth touchdown late in the game there. What was your assessment of those 3 offensive linemen? Because I want to get to the other 2 guys in a bit.
Yeah, I thought the penalties were costly. The hold ends up getting erased, but the Broderick Jones hold ends up getting erased. The Frazier, there's about 2 or 3 sequences on offense where you can really look, the offense was good in general. Yeah. So you're kind of nitpicking, right? But like they can easily, like the Metcalf play, there's one. The sequence here where it's a penalty on Frazier and then a penalty on Mason McCormick immediately after on the tush push. Yeah. That's another one where it's like, man, that's a couple times where this offense could have done a little more. And look, the big story of the game is the defense melting. The offense scores over 30 points. You take that every week, but they definitely had some self-inflicted wounds that kept them from getting more.
And I think that's where it went into there. Now, again, back to the other guys here. I put Cam Hayward here because he actually led the team with 6 pressures. When I look back at it, like, again, if the coverage just holds up for another second, the Steelers at least have 3-4 sacks in this game. Like they were getting close to getting home in the interior, and he could have had more. And I also didn't think he was the problem in the run game. I also want to point out This is my first ever star grade for Roman Wilson. Congratulations, Roman Wilson, because he made 2 catches for 13 yards. But that one catch I thought was really impressive when he was able to get beyond the sticks.
And he had another catch that was wiped out by the Broderick Jones penalty.
Yep, and there, but I thought Roman Wilson kind of showed, hey, guys, you don't need to ignore me. I can make plays. I do exist, and though Calvin Austin will be coming back, so I don't know what they'll do with that, but I do think that maybe he should have earned some more playing time with that. But I want to get to Brandon Echols here, Alan, because I have a theory here that Brandon Echols only got 1 star in this game because he wasn't tasked with doing a whole lot. But it's very rare that people are picking on Brandon Echols, and with his youth and his athleticism. I have a theory. Maybe the Steelers need to don't get rid of Darius Slay entirely, but maybe flop Brandon Echols to when you want to run man coverage, especially outside or in the slot, put that guy there before you put Darius Slay there. Slay can still be a solid, zone defender who feels out plays and plays certain spots of the field and does it smartly. But when you want raw, man up, be physical, run, bump and run coverage, that's where I think Brandon Echols might be a bigger asset to this defense than Darius Slay.
I thought the defense was better when Echols was in there. I don't know that that's all on Slay and he was replacing Porter a little bit too. But I felt like Echols was fine. Probably had the best day of any Steelers defensive back. I do think there are some distribution of personnel things that they can do a little bit differently. I'd like to see a little bit more of Echols. I'd like to see a little bit more of Juan Thornhill than we saw this game.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see more of Ramsey and maybe even Slay at safety instead of corner. So if you're looking for a way to play Echols, if you don't trust Thornhill and you think Echols is good enough, then play Echols at corner and play Ramsey at safety. Obviously, Ramsey wasn't able to cover in man outside corner anyway. Right. Ramsey's been fine when you can play him in the slot. But it's clear that Ramsey's not an answer in man coverage at outside corner. It doesn't look like Slay is either. Maybe it's Echols, and I think that's possible. I thought he's played really well when they've needed him all year. So I think there's definitely some deployment stuff they can try that's not necessarily X's and O's, but just trying different guys in there why not?
That's where I'm at right now with Echols. Again, Washington Smith both had touchdowns. Washington also good run blocker. Boswell didn't miss a kick and also was put all his kickoffs in play. I also put Spencer Anderson here because I thought he had a couple good blocks. I also put Corliss Waitman in here. He had 2 punts, so not a lot, but both punts were placed inside the 20, so did his job there for that. All right, we got 4 2-star guys: Aaron Rodgers, Pat Freiermuth, Mason McCormick, Troy Fautanu. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I felt, Alan, not even the DK interception. If he just doesn't throw that first interception where he just chucked it up into double coverage and was just like, come on, man, that's not the one you want to throw. Check it down to Warren there. If he doesn't make that play, this is a 3-star game. And also, probably the Steelers win this game.
Yeah, I just think they were kind of feeling themselves a little bit right there. Things were going really well. Yeah. And then, try to push it a little too hard. He had open options underneath. I think Roman Wilson was one of them. I think Jonnu Smith was open as well. And honestly, maybe I'll put a little bit of that on Arthur Smith too. First and 10 there, the defense had just been on the field for a very long time. Yeah. I think I'm trying to see Jaylen Warren averaged 7 yards a carry. 8 almost. I think first and 10 there, I'm probably handing the ball off to my running back and trying to keep the defense off the field for a little bit. Because, the theory of this play is even if it works, it's a 50-yard touchdown, and the defense is right back on the field anyway. Not to say that you don't want to take the touchdown, but I think in that instance, chewing a little bit of clock would have been a better idea, and I think they kind of fell into a trap of thinking things were going too well, and then, man, like you said, very quickly, the tide turned the other direction.
Yeah, I look at that. I mean, again, you're coming off of giving up a touchdown in the first play. You throw, that was the Metcalf interception, but still, it's a big mistake that really cost you in the moment. I look at that and I think, man, if the Steelers can find a way to avoid that interception again, the Metcalf one, sometimes things happen when it bounces off you and you get that to happen. But the interception when you threw it into double covers, that's just, you're asking for more problems there. in that one. But anyways, still, again, not dinging Aaron Rodgers too much for that one. Again, he gets 2 stars because he was elite. I mean, Pat Fryermuth kind of reminded everyone, yeah, this is why they have me here. I get targeted. So he gets his 2 stars there. Only reason he didn't get 3 is because he dropped the 3rd down pass. And that was a little hot, but, just not a 3-star grade. But then my other 2 stars here, McCormick and Fautanu. And I want to say, Alan, I've noticed this since the Vikings game. When they run and those guys are at the crux of the run play, they're averaging like 5, 6, 7 yards a pop. Like a lot of those good Jaylen Warren runs are coming behind these 2 guys. And I know Mason McCormick had that false start on the tush-push play, which is just what the Eagles do every week. So I don't understand why that was different there. But the reason I gave him a 2-star grade versus a 1-star grade with Frazier, because he also made a mistake, is because I felt like McCormick and Fautanu are becoming much more core players to the Steelers' run success these past few weeks, and that's a really good sign for this team moving forward. We talked about finding bread and butter, and there is some bread and butter behind these 2 guys. They're doing a good job.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they're a big part of that rushing success we just talked about with Jaylen Warren. Fautanu, in particular, I think is really starting to. It feels like there's a corner being turned there where he's a young player. He's getting his first real NFL reps, obviously missing his entire rookie year due to injury. And the growth curve is starting to look really impressive for him.
It really is. So, okay, those being your 2 stars, the 1 stars that we've named, I have 1 3-star grade. It's pretty easy. This is probably your easiest 3-star grade that you'll ever get a chance to guess on.
What if we just build the whole team out of Jaylen Warren?
Yeah, you got to just build the whole team out of Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren at corner, Jaylen Warren at safety, Jaylen Warren at D-line. This Jaylen Warren being a bad man, and he was in this game. I'm just truly continue to be impressed. Again, in pass protection, and you know what? There could have been some more checkdowns in the passing game, like on that deep ball that got intercepted where he threw it to double coverage. Jaylen Warren, that Roman Wilson was, Jaylen Warren was open. I would have given it to him there. This guy is becoming a do-it-all back. And granted, again, offensive line doing a lot of the work there. But again, 16 of 127 for almost 8 yards per carry. And doing so much after contact too. And again, that contact's coming 5, 6, 7 yards downfield sometimes. But he continues to be truly impressive. I think he is the most consistently highest graded player I have for the Steelers offense right now. Maybe only challenged by Aaron Rodgers.
I feel very vindicated because I was saying for years that if the Steelers would just give the ball to Jaylen Warren more, they would have much more success. And look, the Bengals run defense is awful, but this has been happening all year. Warren is, in my mind, easily a top 10 NFL running back. I think he can be even better than that. Keep feeding him. I know they want to keep him fresh, but I still felt like there were times where the one drive, they end up scoring on the first Pat Fryermuth touchdown, but it was Warren. They go 40 yards in 4 plays, and then they throw 5 passes for -8 yards before they get the touchdown. I'm like, just keep giving the ball to Warren. If the Steelers just hand off to Jaylen Warren on pretty much every play, they probably win the game.
I feel you.
The Bengals could never stop it. You take away the 2 turnovers you get from trying to push the ball down the field. You got to keep people off balance, but man, he's so good. He's
playing so good right now, averaging on the year 4.4 yards per carry. And I think that'll go up as they continue. And I think a lot of part of this too is, remember those early weeks, the offensive line wasn't getting a whole lot of push because they were figuring some things out. But I think especially since the Vikings game, this run game has started to really click. And if you're, and again, the Bengals, not a run defense to write home about, but again, it's not like Jaylen Warren hasn't had a good day against other defenses last week, even though it was just 52 yards, it was on 11 carries where that's 4.7 yards per carry against the number 1 defense, run defense in the NFL going into that week. And then again, when they played the Vikings, it wasn't him, but Kenneth Gainwell got 99 yards on 19 carries, 5.2 yards per carry. So the run game's there. And I think that Jaylen Warren's definitely the better running back than Kenneth Gainwell. But finding other ways to make sure that controls the pace of the game. Maybe that's the one big critique I have on the offense from this loss, is that, it's tough to blame anything. And I'm not saying that they were the reason that they lost this game at all. They put up 31 points. You put up 31 points with this team, you should be able to win every football game. But I will say, moving forward, maybe you think, hey, let's try to possess this ball a little bit more, because that's the other. I think it's the one big thing the Steelers offense doesn't do consistently, and that's win time of possession in the entirety of it. Because right now, crazy enough, with all the good things the Steelers offense is doing, like I think they rank like 16th in scoring or 13th in scoring going into this weekend before all the other teams played, but they ranked like 29th in time of possession. That's the big thing that I think dings this offense and keeps them from being a completely true dominant offense. Yeah,
we haven't seen those kind of take over the game drives, and look, I mean, they scored pretty much at will, so you kind of have to take what you can get there. I don't think this is an offense with overwhelming talent 1 through 11. I'm not going to complain about what they got, right? But of the numerous things that you can point to when you lose a game by 2 points that would have helped you win it, just one really long, boring offensive drive that kept the defense off the field for a long time would have gone a long way.
Also, I made a mistake here. I did the per game stats. They're averaging 25 points per game. That's right now tied for 9th in the NFL, which was not on my radar. They'd be a top 10 scoring offense. And granted, that could easily change with the rest of these Sunday games. We are recording this before Sunday 1 o'clock games kick off in the NFL. But I do think they deserve credit for that. But again, Jaylen Warren, big part of that. And maybe he can even be a bigger part of that as they continue. We'll keep covering things here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Alan, thanks so much for joining us here for the show. Let people know they can find you, follow you, get more of your work.
Saunders _PGH on social media, SteelersNow.com is where you can find my written work and my podcast, Steelers Morning Rush and Steelers Afternoon Drive, or on the Steelers Now YouTube page, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive.
Absolutely. He is Alan Saunders at SteelersNow.com. Thanks for Alan for joining us. Thank you all for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get your social media. It's at Carter Critiques. And you can get us here also on the Locked On Steelers podcast on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. And also a reminder, read me in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. We're back here tomorrow breaking more things down on the Steelers as we head into this big matchup against the Packers coming up next Sunday night. Keep it here, the Locked On Steelers podcast.